The Breaking Through 3030 show is sponsored by Affinitive LLC. Values and investment advice together at last. Visit us on the web at affinitive.com.
Welcome to Breaking Through 3030, and this is our amazing team. Their names are on their pictures. If you're in gallery view, you can see us all.
Yeah.
And wonderful. If you would like to introduce yourself and ask your question, you can start now.
Okay, great. Good morning. Hi, everyone. I really appreciate all your help today. I'll give you a quick introduction of me and my business. My name is Joanie. As you know, I'm working on a new business that encompasses a couple things I'm passionate about and pretty knowledgeable about. The business serves many of the 3 million USA nurses who need to get their continuing education, like CEUs they're called, and also like to travel. So the business combines international vacations that incorporate CEUs along with nursing speakers that are subject matter experts. The difference between this business and, let me click that off, and staying at home and getting CEUs is that CEUs have become really non-interactive and boring. Most of them are online and they're just a chore. And over the last 40 years of nursing, it's just been a chore to get them. So One World Nursing, that's the name of my company, weaves the CEUs into the trips in what I think is an enjoyable, fun way. And each trip has popular nurse experts on the trip. My first 4 trips, we had some for this summer, but COVID, that's a different story, are planned for south of France next summer. And they incorporate extremely popular nurse speakers from TikTok that I have good relationships, and they have huge followings. And I've had commitments from all of them. The reason I started this company is after about 20 years as staff nurse and 20 years as a leader, I really wanted to give back to the nursing profession in a way that could touch more nurses and build more relationships. As a leader, it's kind of limiting. And I also wanted to solve a problem of boring hassle CEUs that no one seemed to have tackled all these 40 years. My long-term goal is to create, a really thriving business. I've just never really done that. So I always say $1 million company, not because of the money, just because I'm goal-oriented. I've never done that. And leave a legacy for nursing. That's really my goal. I live in California part of the year, and I live in France the rest of the year. I've had a really, really great career in nursing, and it's about giving back to the profession to solve a problem. That's the most important. I'm fairly new to business, obviously. I have some knowledge through my education with a master's in leadership and a law degree and my nursing, but I'm really a novice. I'm in my 60s and I'm married, and I think that's a quick summary, and I really appreciate your help so much, and thank you so much. It's really nice.
Thanks, Joanie. So if we ask them a question based on where you are right now and the goal that you have occurring, what would be, if we sync it up into like one question that we could create a plan for you?
Since you guys know way, way more than I do about business, I'm going to make that assumption reading your backgrounds. I would want to know, what am I missing? What am I missing? What blind spots? Just what do you see that I could be doing better and need to do that I just can't see because, of my limited experience?
Awesome. Thank you, Joanie.
Mm-hmm.
Richard, can we start with you?
The education that you're looking to provide, how essential is that to nurses?
It's required to have a certain amount between 10 to 30 units every 2 years to maintain your license. So it's required.
Okay. And how much better would it be being conducted on an international basis with travel, et cetera, than what's currently happening at the moment?
It would be better, especially if you like to travel. It would be incorporated into your travel morning and afternoon. So it would really be a pleasant way to learn. It would add fun. And it would also possibly for most nurses be tax deductible, make your vacation tax deductible to a degree. So it would be a bonus.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was already going off in my head. How can Joanie make sure that it's always tax deductible?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I write that down. Always. I write that down.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Always.
And what I'm only supposed to ask 2 questions, but you've piqued my interest here, so I'm going to ask 3, Joanie. How much would your offering cost compared to what people are doing online already right now?
I've priced it competitively. I compare myself to Rick Steves a little bit, and it's competitive. And I think it's a greater value because I don't have to go through a second middleman, so I can offer better restaurants, better food. So it's a better value, but the price looks like it's competitive, but the quality, knowing Europe pretty well, the quality is higher.
So, but just in dollars, so what are nurses paying right now on average, and what would it cost to do the same thing with you?
Yeah, so for a week in France, pretty much all inclusive, except for a couple of dinners, it'd be $2,900 for the week, including your CEUs, up to whatever amount you need, 30 units or less. And the other trips are ranging anywhere from 26 to, oh my God, Butterfield and Robinson, and we're talking like 45. Yeah.
Okay, so but like to stay in the States and do it online, how much is that costing people?
You can actually do it free online. So you can actually do it. It has to be someone that likes to take a vacation. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
Fun. Let's go to Joanie.
So I would love to learn a little bit more about how you're currently marketing this. Are you just going through nurses associations, or are you doing this through something else?
Well, I was kind of dragging my feet and thinking Facebook ads, and I was kind of actually stumbling and sort of presented myself on social media and developed that presence. And, got 5,000 nurses following me and lots on Facebook. But well, with COVID, it's hard to measure, how popular a trip is right now since you can't take a trip. Yeah, so I'm not sure how the idea came to me, but somehow it did that. I'm going to reach out to the people that I really find lovely and really popular on Facebook. And I reached out to them and they really love the idea. They've already agreed to do it. And we're doing contracts back and forth. And so they are going to market it on their site. I would imagine there's many that have like 150 to 250,000 followers. And when I did a little test sample before COVID kind of shut it down or shut the thinking process that you could go down, I had quite a few bites. My first little TikTok thing about 6 months ago, I had 14 people back. Oh, I'm interested. But then COVID came. So these people that are speakers are going to advertise it with their followers and give them first choice to go.
If you had 3 words to describe the experience that you want your nurses to have, what would those 3 words be to describe the Joanie Guy brand for CEUs?
I would say fun. I would say learning, and I would say advocacy.
Miss Corey.
So I'm so excited about this business that you're building. Am I understanding correctly that you have not done any trips yet? You have these 4 planned?
Right. I've been taking nurses to France in an unpaid way for 20 years, but I haven't done these trips yet. Right.
Okay. All right. Love that. Have you gotten your offer certified, first of all, to count as CEUs?
Yeah, I'm in the process of. I'm in the process of doing that, and I know how to do that, and I know how to dot my I's to get that done. Yeah, I'm in the process now.
Okay, excellent. Have you considered running this trip for other industries as well, like the legal profession for CLEs, for example?
Yeah, my friends that are lawyers actually had this kind of thing in Hawaii. You could always go every other year. You're a lawyer, and you could do that. And a friend of mine a long time ago, Larry Brilliant, said, you start a business, start small. So I'm like, let me just tackle nurses first and see how that goes. But there's definitely opportunity for docs, lawyers. I don't know why people don't do this more.
Okay. Okay, I have one last quick question. Why have you decided to compete on price? I think you mentioned Rick Steves and Butterfield Robinson that offer a similar concept at a higher price. Why have you decided to compete on price?
Nurses range from a really low salary of 40, 60,000 a year if they're starting out to 150. So I'm trying to price point for the majority of nurses don't live in California where we make a bundle. So I'm trying to make the price point for the Alabama or Mississippi or that lower income, and also the new nurse that's starting. Because once you add the airfare and you know, maybe I'm making a mistake about that, but a couple nurses that really do want to go, and they'll go eventually, you know, the price was hanging them up a little bit. So I may have teeter-tottered unnecessarily, but I can price it, and money's not, I mean, there's still a really good return on investment. But I might need to look at that more.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry. How many of these do you have the capacity to run per year?
Oh gosh. You know, when I did my long-term plan, my 3 to 5 year, I can easily do, you know, easily do 20 to 40 a year. I am also going to do a big cruise in Hawaii, work up to really selling out the boat eventually, like one nurse has just done. So, but again, I'm trying to think kind of small and not get overwhelmed. So I could easily, you know, 4 is simple, and I could easily work up to, you know, similar to Rick Steves. He does, you know, he does 10, 20 a week. But that, you know, that's not because he has lots of other people doing it for him.
Okay, this is exciting. Thanks, Joanie.
That's great. Christy.
Everything's about business here, but I need to ask, what can you tell me about what laid this on your heart? What is this heart connection you have to doing this for these ladies?
Yeah.
What's your personal heart about that?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because you don't always get that, and that's the most important thing. So when I lived in the Middle East, I'll make it short, and I worked for Cleveland Clinic, and I became very fond of Sri Lankan nurses and Sri Lanka people because they worked there. I realized that Sri Lankan nurses were not capable of being hired. They didn't have this and that. And I made it my life's goal to help nurses that needed help from Western nurses. And so I work closely with, I was just texting a Sri Lankan nurse right now on a research project. And that's where the name One World Nursing came from. So I help a lot of nurses in Sri Lanka. I go there every year. And then the other thing, when I was working one of my last jobs, I became very attached to the nurses at Kaiser. I just love them, and I solved a huge problem for them, and they were wonderful. And I just realized I love these nurses, and I want to give back in a way that I could have fun and do more things for them. And yeah, and the third, lastly, is I've had an amazing career because I did it in California with CNAs, and I couldn't have had a better career. I mean, so there's a lot that I'm grateful, and I want to give back because, yeah. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. So the whole thing, wow, joy seems to be a theme this week, but so I understand that this learning is necessary, and then helping them find their joy in this learning. Is that part of helping them stay fueled as a nurse? Is that something that's fundamental to a nurse? Is making sure she's cared for a little bit because they're so busy caring for everyone else?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where the advocacy comes. I'm a pretty strong advocate on a TikTok creator platform. And yeah, that's where it comes from, because the profession's about to blow up frankly. You got moral injury and distress, and it's breaking, it's the Me Too of nursing is happening right now. So yes, it's to give back and give joy and to help do my little glue patch to do what I can to help nurses. Yeah.
Joanie, just to give you a moment, like for speaking to the world, we're going to put this podcast out. What do you want the world who is not in relationship with nursing except as a patient? Like, what do you want everybody to know about this moment in time for nurses? Like ruminating. I know it's big, but like, what is there anything that you would?
That our healthcare system is fundamentally strong by nurses. other team members, of course, contribute, but nurses are the backbone, and our healthcare system is about to break. And if you need to go into a hospital, you may not find a nurse available like you used to. And there's a red flag warning that everyone needs to know, because the patients in the hospital now are harder, more difficult. And the politics of healthcare have made the nursing profession about to break. You're going to see about 500,000 nurses leave the profession. And it's just, the public doesn't know how bad this is. And they will feel it when their mom's in the hospital and their dads are sick and they're in the ER waiting for a couple of days for a bed. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I am going to move you into the waiting room, and we're going to
Okay.
create your 30-day plan, and then we'll bring you back.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. See you in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought we needed a little bit of an anchor of reality.
I really want to see her thinking way, way, way bigger to a point where it's actually, you know, meaningful with respect to the size of the problem.
As she was sharing more, I was like, oh, this is healthcare transformation. This isn't just nurse transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we call hers her joy plan.
Oh, our 30-day plan,
Uh-huh.
call it her joy plan.
Her joy plan.
It's incredible, this mission she's on, because this hits close to home. I have a few nurses in the family that are going through some of these issues she's discussing. Taking care of them, giving joy, a little bit of happiness into most times what is quite dreary, to be honest. In a sick room, taking care of folks, and then you have more you have to learn to even be able to still do this. Yeah, wow. So I don't know much about the business side of this, but that's what you brilliant souls are about.
I mean, it is essentially an education and adventure company.
Yeah.
And the in-person is great. Having done virtual learning, I know that can work too, but it just needs a little more detail and nuance and thinking. And so I would definitely have the in-person as the primary, but the virtual could be secondary revenue that comes down the line.
So Donnie, you're seeing what, a virtual component, like virtual retreats as a part, one of her offerings?
So I could see something like you have the in-person experience, but then if there needs to be additional CEUs, then they could have a virtual component to it. Or if she wanted to build a community around it, then you could build some education around the community, and that could be virtual, so that when she has 20 cohorts, some in France, some in Sri Lanka, some here in the States, they can all come together and have a way of connecting with one another.
So can I just take a second to sort of explain to you guys, and more importantly, maybe to the audience who doesn't understand sort of what CEUs are and what the purpose of them is. So basically, whenever you get a professional license, you are required to do sort of an ongoing annual or every other year, depending on your profession, you're required to take these classes that are designed to sort of tune up. They're designed for a couple of reasons. The first one is to sort of tune up your skills and to introduce you to sort of the latest in your field, right? Like what has happened in the last year in your field. The other thing is for networking, and to put people in community with each other. But there's also this piece that's designed to pull you out of the day-to-day of what you do, which can be very narrow and focused, and sort of broaden back up your perspective. So they're multiple fold. Most licenses require them every year, and they can be quite inexpensive, right? Depending on what your field is, you can take them live in person, you can get them at a conference, you can get them in free 90-minute courses online. Like there's a lot of ways to pick them up. They usually involve ethics. They have an ethics requirement. Sometimes you can be introduced to a different field, right? If you're a nurse in the ER, you can take something like a nurse in a rural family practice, right? So that people can sort of see and observe best practices. That's the point of them. So with that in mind, just wanted to make sure that everybody sort of understood like what she's trying to accomplish. And she made a good point that her competitor is free, right? I mean, the sort of lowest cost CLEs or CEUs are always free. So that's what she's up against. And you can lose your license. You can be suspended if you don't maintain your CEUs. Most people wait until like the 2 weeks before their deadline, and we all have different deadlines depending on when your license was issued. Most people wait in those last 2 weeks, and then they're scrambling. They're scrambling to get them in.
Huge need.
It's a great idea. It's beautiful. I think, I mean, one of the first things that came to mind, she has to make absolutely certain that it's as tax deductible as it can possibly be. Second, I would add some kind of BNPL to it. So buy now, pay later. So it's almost like, you know, you can take it out because 2,900 is a big chunk, even though I think she's probably underpricing that. And I think she needs to figure out how to be able to provide this for a hell of a lot more people.
She has a decent sized following. She has 5,000 nurses, and so there is something there around giving people a taster experience of what it would be like to be with her in person for 2 days or 3 days or however long the trip is. So she could potentially offer some type of free CEU, and just give people an experience of what the Joanie experience would look like. And then from there, invite her to say, all right, here's what you would get in the in-person situation.
That's actually a question that I regret not asking as soon as she went out of the room. I was like, yeah. I mean, could it be as simple as just setting up a camera in France and recording the sessions that she's delivering there to be like online training for people who couldn't make it or couldn't afford it? But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to be able to make that free. Because she's already delivering all of this content anyway, and it's the same accreditation, it's everything. So have a free component. And I don't know, the other thing she could think about is maybe almost making it like a subscription model where people pay a certain amount per month. I mean, it'd be a decent chunk, but included in that is this annual trip. I want to see her making travel arrangements for 2,000 people a year.
One of the questions that came to mind as she talked about this idea of having $1 million business is, where's her revenue today, and how much is she looking to grow each year? Is she looking to make $1 million in the next year? Is she looking to make $1 million in the next 2 to 5 years? Because I think that'll help her identify how many sessions she needs to have over the course of the years and what she's expecting to make from each cohort.
Well, she only has to get 345 people a year to have $1 million in revenue. That's so doable.
Especially if she can do 20 to 40, she can host 20 to 40 trips per year. When she said that, I was like, what? So I have some ideas. The first one is for her marketing thing. I think, like all advertisers, she should get nurses early. So maybe she could target nursing students to create a pipeline and establish herself as sort of the brand name, so that nursing students are already fantasizing about these trips. So Donnie, you said that you thought that this was basically an education and adventure company. I would ask her to get clear on what her strengths are, because it could be an education program, it could be a wellness program that happens to have a couple CEU classes thrown in, or it could be a travel program that happens to do this thing. So I would encourage her to get clear on what is she first and foremost, right? Is she education? Is she wellness? Is she travel? The other thing along the lines of wellness, I know that insurance companies will pay for their insured to get wellness training, right? So they'll pay for them to go to therapists, they'll pay for them to join fitness centers. So I'm wondering if she could figure out how to get a portion of this trip covered by insurance companies. If she did some kind of wellness planning, which, you know, sounds like she's saying these nurses really could use some sort of mental health. If somehow she could bake that in, that might lower the cost. I don't think she should compete on price. I think she should have some tiers, right? If her competitor is running 10 or 20 of these trips a week, which is what she said, it's incredible. Obviously, he has people sort of heading these trips in other places. People are paying his price, right? I mean, that's the one thing we can see there, that people are paying his price. So she could potentially design 2 offers and have tiers of the offers. The other thing that's ringing out to me is that when you guys start talking about her taking 2,000 people a year on these trips, there might be a way for her to either start or buy or partner with an actual travel agency that books all of the stuff.
I was thinking she should actually buy a hotel.
Or buy a hotel. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, the center.
Yeah.
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 So some of there's conversation right now, some of the big gurus who do these sort of these 3-day free live workshops, they're thinking about going in together and buying a hotel, for example, in Orlando, and then they can all host, or whatever city they want to, and then they can all host their things there, right? So there definitely is a piece to that. So let me see if there's anything else that I can think of. Oh, the sort of on a smaller note, I'm hoping that she is planning to be one of the subject experts in her retreats, so that she can, I don't know how she's going to pay her subject experts who will come, but if she could be one of them and only have to hire, say, 3 more or 2 more, as opposed to hiring all of them, she could certainly save some resources there.
One of the things that I wanted to know is, what does it take to put on one of these events? Aside from the travel agency, does she have a team? Does she have a virtual assistant? Is she doing everything from taking payments to the marketing to organizing to leading? Because if she's thinking about sustainability, she's going to need to think about the structure that she builds around her to support her.
I just want to touch back with her just about what Corey was saying, that she's one of the specialists, or one of the educators, whatever. She needs to remember that she's part of that destination that she's offering to these people. So that's very important to stop first and remember that she's the first destination they arrive at. When they go to look into this, it's her they see, it's her they connect with. So she really does need to be a really out there part of this, visible in this.
Christy, that's a great point, because I've actually seen, and I've worked with clients on this very thing. Sometimes when people think they're planning an event or they're planning a retreat and they think that they are not enough, they'll pack the retreat with stuff. And it's like, take that stuff out. Like, you are what people are signing up for.
You're the first part of that destination. Absolutely.
Yeah. Affirmations and mindsets for her.
I want her to keep realizing just that she really is. She's the start of this. This is where it begins. So I guess I am enough, just like Corey was saying.
Yeah, let it continue to be peaceful, playful, and profitable.
I want her to be thinking about her solutions with respect to the size of the problem, not limiting herself to the scale that she thinks she's capable of. I think she has so much to offer so many people, and if this is the only plan, then simply not enough people are going to get the benefit of what she's got to offer. So I'd really want to see her framing everything around the size of the problem, and what does it look like to be able to reach like all of those people, or as many of them as possible.
Richard, do you have people phase that? Like, she's in this, I want a small successful bite. And do you have people phase into that big? Do you have them start with the scalable problem, or what do you?
Well, I mean, in most cases these days, there's basically no difference. There doesn't have to be a difference.
Mhm.
I mean, in terms of the number of people who get on a plane and come to France, yeah, okay. You're going to be limited by, you know, the accommodation arrangements that you can make, the number of people who are going to be willing to spend $3,000 up front for X. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a whole bunch of other value. There's a whole bunch of other ways she could be providing value to a lot more people than the ones who are going to be able to get on that plane to France. So I don't think it speaks to moving in phases so much as the overall architecture of the solution. Is it something that's designed to be able to serve a lot of people, or is it something that's designed with inherent limitations that will mean it only ever gets to serve a few hundred people?
Adding on to Richard's comment, the phrase that came to mind is your work is medicine.
So I have a couple things to add. I'm sorry. She talked about leaving a legacy, and we didn't really double back to that. And I think she might mean, I think she may mean like a personal legacy for her family, but I think she also may mean a legacy in terms of how the industry is run and how these people are cared for, right? So both legacies. One of the things that I would say, and this gets back to sort of what Richard was saying, is that if she wants to build a legacy in terms of creating something that she can then hand off to somebody else, she needs to build it from day one, to sell it and or to scale it. And what that looks like, Kate, I think to answer your question, is that every element that she builds into these programs from the very, very beginning, if it cannot scale, she doesn't do it. From the very, very beginning, every element has to be something that can scale, because otherwise what people do is they create sort of the 1.0 version of their offer, and no pieces of it can go with them into 2.0 because they didn't lay the infrastructure that is scalable. Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing she talked about is this advocacy piece, which is a beautiful thing. So it makes me think of a think tank, but it also, she is the perfect person to be the voice, or to be one of the voices, because I know that there are people talking in this area, but she could be the voice of this cause, right? She could, so I would love to see her work, not just to market her offers, but also to become known as a thinker in this area, and people will gravitate to her, right? Her allies will find her, people. And then the other thing is this subscription model. We touched on so many little things that we can't go into, but this subscription model is a beautiful model, but I wanted to tell you what it's compared to, for example. So she's talking about a 2,900, I think we all agree that she can go up from there. In CLEs, which are law continuing education units, you can get unlimited CLEs for a year for $1,500. Now, in that case, a person who would buy that might be someone who needs the CLEs, but also someone who is using those trainings to introduce them to a new area when they get a new client, for example, right? If a client walks in with an area that you're not familiar with, you might start with, okay, what are the CLE recordings that are available in this area of law? Right. But anyway, that's what she would be competing with, a $1,500. So for unlimited CLEs for 1 year. So if she wanted to create a subscription model, as Richard suggested, I'm sure there's a comparable all access pass in nursing that people pay for throughout the year. That's sort of the subscriptions that already exist in the space. Hers would be a version of that, right? And she would price it and offer accordingly. I hope that made sense. That's sort of what people are accustomed to with subscriptions in the CEU space, like an all access pass. And mindset, I think she's good. I think she's ready. I'm excited. Yeah. If I were you, I'd sign up for this thing.
Yeah. I feel like really special things are about to happen there.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Let me just tell her, we'll bring her back. Welcome back, Joanie.
Hi, thank you.
And Corey, I'm going to ask if you could just give her a little highlight summary and closing thoughts for her, and we'll give
You're
her the
asking
document.
Corey to do that?
You're asking Corey to be brief.
Right?
Yeah.
It's okay. You can elaborate, Corey. You go on and on.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Joanie, first thing I want to say is that we are absolutely unanimous that we love this idea, right? We are all excited about this idea, and that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes we offer what we can, but some of us love it, some of us don't. But in this case, we absolutely love this idea. More importantly, we love you as the leader of this thing, right? We think that it is the right thing. We think that you are the right person, and now is the right time. So with that in the list, we talked about when you're ready to scale, right? Accepting and respecting your desire to start small. One of the ways you scale is by making sure that everything you do from the very, very beginning can be scaled. If it can't be scaled, don't do it. We talked about different ways that people could pay you over time. We talked about making sure that it is as tax deductible as possible. One of the things we talked about is making sure that you recognize that you are the primary draw and not necessarily the subject matter experts that you're bringing in. They're like icing on the cake, but you are the draw, and we hope that you are teaching in your own retreats, in part because it's one less expert that you have to pay or provide housing or compensation for, but also because you would be a great draw. All these things about scalability. We talked about maybe offering some free version of the CEUs in different ways, whether it's virtual, in your marketing material, or actually offering free CEUs so that people can taste what you're doing. We talked briefly about a subscription model where what people are actually signing up for is like a monthly subscription where they can be in community, they can maybe get some CEUs, and included in that annual or included in that 2-year subscription is this trip, meaning that what people are paying for is not the trip itself, but they're paying to be a part of this community for 2 years, and that comes with the trip.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
We also talked about having tiers of offerings so that you can get the high paid nurses or the nurses who have family support, and you can get the younger nurses and maybe the ones in sort of the lower income states. Another consensus I think that we all had was that we feel like you are ready. We feel like you have, as you said, dotted the I's and crossed the T's, and we think that you're dotting more I's and crossing more T's, right?
I'm trying.
Yeah. So we're all very confident and excited about your.
Thank you, Corey. That is really, really nice. Wow. It's very, very, very nice. Very complimentary. Thank you so much. There's a lot there.
Joanie, thank you so much for sharing openly with us today. And
absolutely.
It's a pleasure. I will send you that document again. And when we finish producing the podcast, I'll send it right over to you.
Okay.
And then we can debrief in a bit.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.